So I have the honor of presenting our next guest, who is both founder and president of a company which has been in operation for 18 years and offers services and advisory tools for international telecom operators and carriers. She was also recently nominated for Rocco's 100 2022 shortlist. Isabelle Paradis from Wholetail roasted our own CEO. I saw that video, Andre, earlier this year on her podcast and YouTube channel. So be sure to check out both of that videos when you have a chance. Now, please give a warm welcome to Isabelle Paradis. Isabelle, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. Just to confirm, can you see my presentation before I start?
Yes, we can see it.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you very much for having me, inviting me to share my views on the transformation of wholesale towards wholesale. So I'm sure many of you in the audience are wondering what type of animal is a wholetailer. Put simply, a wholetailer is a convergence of wholesale and enterprise retail into what I like to call a wholetailer, a wholesale. And why is this evolution taking place? Well, for multiple reasons. The first one, or the first driver for this transformation, is the fact that the enterprise and the operators' environment are closing. The gap between the two are closing. There's a blurring of the line between what enterprise and operators are expecting in terms of network, in terms of technologies and services. That's the first drivers. And what it means is for wholesalers out there wanting to address the enterprise directly, there's an opportunity there. Not for everyone, but this is starting to happen. The second driver is the fact that mobile operators themselves have to address enterprises' expectation and this evolving expectation as well. And I will talk about it a bit more in my presentation. So for wholesalers out there wanting to support the MNOs who are themselves looking to better address the enterprise segment, there is an evolution to take place. What used to happen before, the solutions that were offered before, will not be good enough anymore soon. And the final driver that I would like to mention is the fact that the customer is also evolving. So all of us as customers, our expectation when we are, buying whatever it is changing. And therefore, when we buy wholesale services, the way we expect to be interacted with, the type of solutions that we are offered, is also changing. So the one-size-fits-all of what, the wholesalers, or one-size-fits-all offering is not good enough anymore. So this has to evolve to what I like to call more of a wholesale solution. So this is really moving the industry towards, I think, its next wave of transformation. So if we take a step back in the 1990s, that's when I started in the business. That was, from my point of view, the first wave of transformation of wholesale. This is actually when the wholesale business was created to the deregulation of the international business. The next wave of evolution came when the mobile technology was implemented. So what I like to call the mobilization of the industry. Again, the solutions had to evolve, the type of customers addressed had to evolve, and what services they expected. So that was the next change. The third wave was the IPification, or the move from TDN to IP. And I think now we've entered the fourth wave of evolution of the wholesale business, and in some way of the whole telecom business. And I like to call this the verticalization of the business. So the one-size-fits-all that I mentioned a bit earlier, really we're moving away from that to a tailored solution by vertical. And I will get into that a bit more in my presentation. So with any evolution wave, what triggers it really almost always is the technology. Then that impacts the way that customers are expecting the services to be delivered, and then it impacts the ecosystem that delivers it. And I will cover today these four triggers in more detail. So the first one is the technology. What's happening? Really, we are in the midst of the perfect technology storm. On one side, we're seeing the digitalization of our world, our society as a whole, which is impacting the telecom world in terms of moving to the cloud, moving to automation, moving to virtualization. So that's impacting our world already, our industry as well. And this will be compounded with the introduction of 5G, which will bring all sorts of new applications that will enable enterprise applications with network sizing, low latency, end-to-end quality, more security, and the introduction of more and more private networks. So these two technological evolution or transformation really is really impacting the industry and is part of the trigger of moving away from what we know as pure wholesale to a new type of wholesale. The next trigger is the customer. And if we took a selfie of ourselves as customer 5 years ago, what we would see is we would be happy. We were happy with one size fits all, complex and lengthy provisioning for contracted based services. But really, we moved a long way from there with the digital transformation of our world. Really, what we expect now is multiple fluid options that evolve with our changing needs, no matter where we are. We're looking for transparency, not only in terms of our own personal information, but also in terms of business model, in terms of pricing, even in terms of branding. We also expect to be able to build our own experience, to control it, to tailor it to what we want at any time, any place. And of course, we want connectivity at all times. But I will go a step further, because with what has happened in the last 18 months, and also with what the introduction of Amazon is kind of brainwashed us. Amazon has brainwashed us and created us as one-click buyers. What we expect now is click to shop, click to buy, click to pay, and click to return. And not only when we buy shoes, handbags, or food, really, even when we buy telecom services and when we buy wholesale services. So wholesalers, no matter what, have to evolve the way that they deal with their customers. May they be enterprise customers, or may they be operators or other carriers. The next trigger is the services. And I think services are moving away from basic services to more what we call solutions. And if we go back to when I started the industry, operators and wholesalers supporting them were busy offering TDM fixed services, mostly voice, on a permanent business model. Then it evolved to the IP world, as I said, the wave towards mobilization, IPification. So they started offering IP services, mobiles to the mobile segment, data services on a per megabit business model. So at that time, those services were highly relevant and high margin. But obviously, we're in a very different place now. These services have different level of relevance, but really all of them almost have low margin. So what that means is where we are at, where we want to be, which I like to call the hot box, where we're offering services that are highly relevant and of high margin. Really, for a long time, this box was empty. So operators and carriers supporting them had to find a way to move up the value chain and find solutions that were highly relevant and of high margin. So what does that evolution look like? So when we were in the communication era, it was all about voice, messaging, data, and connectivity. And then we moved into what I like to call the entertainment era, the content era. So operators and carriers started offering, on top of connectivity and data and messaging and SMS, cloud and content solution. They were trying to fill the gap of the voice was going down and the margin were going down with other more valuable services. And obviously and also the services that the customers wanted, which were cloud and content. And now we are now in the digital lifestyle era. And now operators and carriers supporting them are offering on top of that security and IoT. So they've moved up the value chain for basic services such as voice and messaging and data and connectivity towards cloud, IoT, content, and security. So this is where the value is now. And if we look at these services, really, those are very much enterprise services as well as operator services. So, ends the blurring of the line in terms of not only the network, in terms of also the solutions that are delivered. But if we go a bit deeper in what type of solutions enterprises are expecting, they're expecting obviously connectivity on the cloud to deliver content and IoT. But they expect more and more bandwidth, more reach, and that's why a lot of the networks that you will see some announcements, in the near future about merging wholesale and enterprise networks. So those are merging, but they don't only need that; they want flexible business model, but really they need a whole layer of security around that. They need information in real time and support. So much more than a normal operator customer would require. And And if we go further, they will want that by vertical. So if they're in the healthcare vertical, the transport, the utility, they will want all those things, but on a use case basis, where with different type of latency, quality, security, depending if it's a healthcare solution, a transport solution. So as I said before, the one size fits all really won't be good enough anymore. We have to go tailored by vertical. So this is changing for operators addressing the enterprise. And if some of the wholesalers want to address the enterprise themselves, they will have to move that way. if they want to support their mobile operator customers that are addressing the enterprise, then they will have to offer the mobile operators solutions that fit that bill. So that's why I say it's the transformation of the wholesale business towards more of a wholesale types of business model. And the last trigger really is the result of all these other triggers is the power shift. We want to know who will be the big fish in the pond, who will be the last man or woman standing. And this has changed a lot in the last 5 years. So if we again take a selfie of the ecosystem, 5 years ago, we saw the operators and the carriers really were playing the bigger role in the value chain. They were the ones with the power. Now, if we move to today with the digital transformation and the move to the cloud, obviously the cloud providers, the platform providers now are playing a growing role. And even some of the operators and carriers are trying to reinvent themselves as cloud providers. And we see also a growing importance of the enterprise. And I'm talking about the move from wholesale to wholetail, but really enterprise is also becoming in some way operators. So the OTTs are building their own connectivity. So the blurring of the line goes both ways, in my view, and is creating all these shifts. So if you are one of these wholesalers wanting to become a wholetailer, what is your game plan? Well, the game plan to start with is you have to evolve your services toward tailored solution by vertical, which is underpinned by enhanced support and information in real time. And these services should be then delivered using platforms that enable customers to control their own experience, using marketplaces, and if required, consultative selling. Of course, automation is at the core of the digital solutions. However, the human support, in my view, is more and more important, and more important maybe than ever, because you will be delivering more and more complex and strategic activities. But at the end of the day, everything is always about the people and always starts at the top. So then, therefore, what it means is the leaders of today should be enterprise savvy and able to create ecosystems equipped to deliver these tailored and complex solutions. And to make this happen, you will have to become vertical experts. And in some way, some of the wholesalers will become wholesale with vertical expertise. So we can see happening where wholesalers, instead of being generic wholesalers, will be wholesalers specialized in healthcare, specialized in the transport industry, and so on. But one thing I would like to clarify, however, there's a lot of blurring of the lines in terms of network, in terms of solution, but one place maybe where there shouldn't be a blurring of the line is the sales team. I cannot see an operator or a carrier selling to another operator or another carrier in the same way as they're selling to an enterprise. You have to be talking the enterprise's language. If it's a bank, if it's a hospital, you have to know what type of solutions they expect and how it's the type of support they require, the type of real-time information they require, and the language that they understand. So it will, I think, remain very different if you sell to an operator, another carrier, or an enterprise. So that is my view anyway at this point in time. So the question I leave you with: are you ready for the transformation from wholesale to retail? And that concludes my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Isabelle. It was very nice presentation. So, and of course, for that game plan, you'll definitely need to have the core system, which is going to be billing, Porta billing or Porta switch. And for that transformation, you'll definitely need to have the latest version of our system.